Have you ever felt like the deeper you think, the more isolated you become? Like the more you understand, the less people seem to want to listen. It's not just in your head. Society has always been wary of deep thinkers, not because they're wrong, but because they see things others would rather ignore. History proves this. From Socrates to Nietzsche, Galileo to Tesla, brilliant minds have been ridiculed, silenced, or ignored, not due to a lack of intelligence, but because their insights made people uncomfortable. Schopenhauer, one of the most brutally honest philosophers, believed that intelligence was a curse, one that isolates those who see the world too clearly. But why does this happen? Why does society resist those who think differently? The answer lies deep within human psychology. Think about it. When you're near someone who is physically stronger than you don't necessarily feel weak. You might even admire their strength. When you meet someone who's wealthier, you might envy them, but you don't feel personally attacked. But when you encounter someone who is intellectually superior, something strange happens. Psychologists call this the mirror effect. A deep thinker doesn't just introduce new ideas, they reflect back the limitations of those around them, and people don't forgive that easily. The mere presence of someone who thinks deeply can make others feel inadequate, even if the thinker says nothing at all. Why does this happen? Why does intelligence, more than any other form of superiority, provoke such discomfort? The answer lies in how our minds process different forms of superiority. When someone is physically stronger, we might see them as a leader or protector. When someone is wealthier, we might admire their success or aspire to something similar. These qualities, strength, wealth, beauty, are external. We recognize them, but they don't challenge our core self-perception. Intelligence operates differently. Unlike physical strength or material wealth, intelligence is deeply tied to our identity. We define ourselves by our thoughts, our beliefs, our understanding of the world. So when we meet someone who thinks on a deeper level, someone who questions what we take for granted, it can feel like a direct attack on our sense of self. Instead of admiring intelligence, many people subconsciously resist it, not because the deep thinker is arrogant, but because their very presence forces others to confront their own limitations. This is why, throughout history, deep thinkers have been pushed to the fringes of society. Their insights don't just challenge ideas, they challenge egos. And human beings, by nature, will do almost anything to protect their egos from discomfort. Take a moment to reflect on your own experiences. Have you ever tried to introduce a deep or complex idea in a casual conversation, only to be met with blank stares or awkward silence? Have you ever noticed how people quickly shift topics when discussions move beyond surface-level chatter? This isn't just coincidence, it's a defense mechanism. When people encounter a deep thinker, their minds go into self-preservation mode. Instead of being curious, they resist. Instead of engaging, they dismiss. This is why intellectuals, philosophers, and visionaries often find themselves isolated, not because they want to be alone, but because society pushes them away. Interestingly, studies show that confidence is often valued more than intelligence in social settings. People are naturally drawn to those who project certainty, even if their ideas are shallow. This is why charismatic but simplistic thinkers gain more influence than deep thinkers who speak with nuance. History is full of examples: populist leaders, motivational speakers, and viral influencers who thrive by telling people what they want to hear, rather than challenging them to think critically. Meanwhile, those who question widely accepted beliefs often struggle to find a broad audience. This is the paradox of intelligence. The more someone seeks truth, the more they become disconnected from the majority. The mirror effect doesn't just reflect society's limitations, it highlights why society resists change in the first place. But does society actually fear intelligence? Is there scientific proof? Modern neuroscience backs this up. Studies show that when people feel intellectually inferior, their brain's amygdala, the region responsible for fear and threat detection, becomes highly active. In simple terms, deep thinking isn't just intimidating, it triggers a primal survival response, much like what we feel when facing danger. But why does intelligence activate the same fear circuits as a physical threat? The answer lies in how human brains evolved. For most of human history, survival didn't depend on being the smartest person in the room, but on being accepted by the group. Our ancestors thrived in tribes where social harmony meant safety. Being rejected by the group could mean death, as ISO. This is why many deep thinkers feel isolated, not because they lack social skills, but because their intelligence makes them stand out in a world that values fitting in over standing out. A 2021 study at Stanford University uncovered something even more shocking. The projection of deep thinkers is context-dependent. When people interact with an intellectual one-on-one, they feel less threatened. But in group settings, the threat response spikes dramatically. Why? Because social status becomes more important in groups. People don't just react to intelligence, they react to how others perceive them in comparison. If someone feels outshined by a deep thinker, they instinctively try to undermine or exclude them to protect their social standing. This explains why deep thinkers often find genuine conversations in private settings, but struggle in large social environments. Psychologists have identified several cognitive biases that further explain why intelligence is often met with resistance. The Dunning-Kruger effect shows that people with low ability often overestimate their intelligence, while highly intelligent people tend to doubt themselves. This creates friction. Those who know little often believe they know more than they do, leading them to dismiss deeper thinkers. Status quo bias explains why the human brain prefers familiar ideas over new, complex truths. Intelligence often introduces disruptive thoughts that make people uncomfortable. The backfire effect shows that when people are confronted with information that contradicts their beliefs, they don't change their minds, they double down. Deep thinkers often face this reaction when they introduce challenging ideas. In the digital age, social media has amplified this rejection of intelligence. Algorithms prioritize engagement over depth, meaning that controversial, emotionally charged content spreads faster than thoughtful, well-reasoned arguments. Simple, catchy, and often misleading sound bites outperform nuanced discussions. The more intellectual someone is, the harder it is for them to compress deep ideas into bite-sized, viral-friendly content. As a result, society increasingly favors entertainment over enlightenment, making it even more challenging for deep thinkers to find widespread acceptance. So, what does this mean for deep thinkers? The rejection of intelligence isn't just social, it's biological, psychological, and cultural. It's built into human nature, reinforced by group dynamics, and magnified by modern technology. This doesn't mean deep thinkers should stop sharing their ideas, but it does mean they need to understand the forces working against them. But if society resists intelligence, what does it actually embrace? The answer lies in comfort, a world where predictability is preferred over truth. Schopenhauer, one of the most brutally honest philosophers in history, believed that intelligence is not a gift, but a curse. Unlike other thinkers who saw intelligence as the key to success, Schopenhauer argued that the smarter a person is, the more they will struggle to connect with society. Why? Schopenhauer's philosophy was built on the concept of the will, a blind, irrational force that drives human behavior. According to him, most people live controlled by the will to live, seeking pleasure, comfort, and survival above all else. But highly intelligent people operate differently. Instead of blindly following instincts, they develop the will to truth, an insatiable desire to understand reality, even if it leads to discomfort. Regular people seek pleasure and avoid difficult truths. Deep thinkers seek truth even if it leads to pain and isolation. This creates a fundamental disconnect between intellectuals and the rest of society, where most people find meaning in relationships, entertainment, and routine pleasures. Deep thinkers often feel disillusioned with these things, seeing them as distractions from deeper existential questions. Schopenhauer believed that the more a person understands human nature, the harder it is for them to relate to others. They see through lies and deception. Most social interactions involve small talk, status games, and polite dishonesty. Deep thinkers who value truth over appearance often struggle to participate in this. They crave depth, but society favors simplicity. Most people prefer surface-level conversations, while deep thinkers crave meaningful discussions. This makes it difficult for them to engage in everyday interactions without feeling bored or disconnected. They recognize the futility of human desires. Schopenhauer saw desire and ambition as illusions. Most people chase money, power, and relationships, but deep thinkers often question the very purpose of these pursuits. This makes them appear distant or indifferent to what excites the majority. This is why intelligent people often feel misunderstood, alienated, or even resented. Their mere presence forces others to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves.